Time for Act 1, Scene 2 of Hamlet. So just looking at this scene, the opening of it is a direct contrast to Act 1, Scene 1. It's bright, there's this flourish of trumpets, everyone seems quite jolly and happy, apart from Hamlet, of course, in this scene. Whereas, Act 1, Scene 1 was full of sort of this foreboding sense of doom and gloom, if you like, and the tension that's rising in that one. So this one does seem like a big contrast to this one. And we've got the introduction of Claudius, Hamlet and Gertrude as well. We do have Laertes in this scene as well, but I'm going to look mostly at Claudius first of all. So we've got Claudius, the current king, and the first thing we notice about the way Shakespeare characterises Claudius is his language is very flowery, and he speaks, he almost manipulates language. So if we have a look here, he's talking about, the state of the court, even though that the old Hamlet is dead, the old king is dead. What does he say here? Fought with nature that we wise, sorry, thinking him together with remembrance of ourselves. So he's always thinking about himself, actually, and he's sort of commenting how, although the old king is dead, we should be, thinking of ourselves, thinking ourselves in the present. And he talks of defeated joy. So he has these juxtapositions, mirth in funeral. So, joy and defeated don't seem to kind of go together, they seem kind of opposite. And mirth, so sort of happiness. Move that across a little bit. Happiness, going with the idea of a funeral. And sadness, dirge, in marriage. So he's, mixing up all of these ideas. Juxtaposing them. Juxtaposition of these thoughts. And what it shows us is his ability to sort of manipulate, if you like, manipulate language. Use it to his own ends, to create his own worldview, if you like. So even though the court is grieving, he's kind of trying to turn it all on its head and manipulate the court into believing that actually, people should be happy. And it's just to do with, when somebody is able to manipulate language like this, it's kind of a skill in diplomacy. He is able to use language to create his own worldview and sort of present his ideas to everybody in that diplomatic way, instead of using force, which of course the old king would have been more associated with. Old Hamlet, the warlike king, would have been more associated with using force and perhaps going to battle to convince people of his point of view, whereas Claudius is more has a more diplomatic approach. And that's certainly true here. He carries on his speech and he talks about old Fortinbras and and new Fortinbras as well. So we've got old Fortinbras. We have here writ to Norway, uncle of young Fortinbras. So Norway is old Fortinbras. And then his nephew is young Fortinbras. And it's young Fortinbras, remember, he was preparing to come and retake the lands that his uncle lost to old Hamlet in a previous battle. And so Claudius, in his diplomatic style, writes, go to war. He doesn't, sort of meet young Fortinbras on the battlefield. He writes to old Fortinbras in order to try and get old Fortinbras to manipulate young Fortinbras, if you like, into suppressing his mission to come and retake those lands. So it's further emphasis on, further evidence, of Claudius's diplomatic style. Okay. He does, however, make a comment about how the court might be considered to be out of joint, so Denmark, our state, to be disjoint because of the death of the old king. And he sort of says, they might be thinking, Norway might be thinking that, our state is out of joint, that things are a little bit in disarray. And they are. If you think about Act 1, Scene 1, there's lots of imagery that Shakespeare uses to convey this idea that things are in disarray and the natural order has been disrupted. But Claudius is kind of, in his own diplomatic way and trying to present his worldview, is sort of, you know, using language to push that idea aside, if you like, and to present his more diplomatic way of approaching things. So I suppose he's kind of a good king in that sense, because he is trying to settle down the disorder and the discomfort that the Danish court might be feeling at this point as a result of the death of the old king. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave this video here because it's just that introduction of Claudius, and then we'll move on to the next